with your final Ignite presenter for the evening, Mr. Ranjay Williams, The Despotism of the Digital 1%.
You got started quick. Okay, cool. So, simple question this was, what happens when the people who are actually defining how we're building, what we're designing, are disconnected from the experiences that most of us are having, in terms of literally how they're experiencing the technologies they're influencing? I'm Ranjay Dubb. I run a company called Nodes. We focus really simply on making it super effective for you to reach out and build the groups that will support you and help you do the things that matter: crowdfunding, funding for nonprofits, social referral marketing for commerce companies. What is a digital one percenter? It's a lot like Scrooge McDuck rather. Rich, wealthy beyond belief, except in this case we're talking about audience and influence. And this idea came to me one day as I was sort of reflecting on the fact that anybody can be a digital one percenter. You can be the president, you could be a musician, you could make a sex tape. Well, not all sex tapes. The Screech sex tape did not work out well. Saved by the Smell was a bomb. And if there's a digital 1%, there's a digital 99%. And so there's this idea of sort of us and them that kind of came to me, except without the smelly patchouli and sort of bad dreads. But the idea was a really basic one that came to me as I was reading this article with this really awesome title that you can't see, The Dark Social Web, by a guy named Alexis Madrigas at The Atlantic. And it was really about this interesting sort of perspective on how most of the social web is actually not on Facebook and Twitter, but instead is actually happening inside of email and IM clients. And they did this really interesting study. He did this interesting study on ref links and how most of how we are discovering content is not happening in these sort of explicitly social places, but these other channels. I found it fascinating. I missed correcting that title. What it says up there is essentially, as you can see, there's a ton of sort of work to be done to kind of discover how this dark social web interplays with the regular social web that we've all come to sort of know and love. And this is an experience that I am having myself, and sort of, as a company we're sort of building against. And I was a big fan of the work that he had done in the article, and it stuck with me that this was interesting. And then I saw this kind of counterpoint that was being put out by this guy, Fred Wilson. Not so impressed with this particular article. And in fact, what Fred Wilson, this awesome venture capitalist that many of you in this room probably know, what he was drawing on was his own personal experience walking along the High Line one day. He wrote this counterpoint piece where he saw this very piece of art right here, and he tweeted out to his very engaged following saying sort of, I wish that somebody would tell me about this particular piece. And an interesting thing happened. He got a response, and it was from Kevin Slavin, another serial entrepreneur. And Fred's takeaway from that, it turned out that Kevin Slavin used to work with the artist that had done that particular piece. His takeaway, I think you can't see it, was effectively that the dark social web has nothing on the bright public social web. And my takeaway was that this is Fred Wilson's version of the internet and the social web. Good-looking, sexy Captain Kirk social web, where his inbound interest in his life it way exceeds his ability or his need to sort of organize his network and know who can help him out. This is my version, and this is most of our versions. It's sort of old Priceline, sort of old William Shatner. It's not sexy Kirk. And I don't say that derisively about, this is a cool guy, he's still sexy at 80 or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that my internet is not the same as Fred Wilson's internet. The internet that I kind of need to help me is something that looks more like I snap a picture of that picture and somebody automatically populates for me the people in my network who know about art. I need to augment my serendipity. I don't have the level of sort of traction and engagement that a Fred Wilson has. So what does it do if I've got digital 99% problems and Fred Wilson has something different, if he is the one actually capitalizing and sort of supporting and helping to really drive the ecosystem? This is the question I was kind of left with. Does that mean anything? And somebody actually out there asked a similar question. What does it mean if the people designing have different expectations and sort of views of the world and the people are designing for? Who am I building for? Am I building for Fred? Or am I building for the people I'm actually trying to make my customers and users? And so that's it, not to be super preachy, but I did want to point out that if we're only building for the people that are sort of driving the sort of upper echelon of the sort of ecosystem that we're all a part of, I wonder if we don't get stuck in an echo chamber. I wonder if we don't miss opportunities to define new markets and do good and sort of build things that are really substantive. The fun of the internet to me is the long tail. It's this idea that ultimately we can actually customize just about anything for just about anyone. Everybody's a creator, everybody's a consumer, everybody's a supplier. And so we can't get stuck on the people who have these really, really outsized and sort of super experiences, even on the products that they are helping to drive. Because I think what we do is we lose perspective on the fact that ultimately there's a whole other audience that we're actually building for. And I think that's the sort of digital 99%. That's it.